Good morning. I've just roughly drawn out this rocky shore here with a couple of head buildings. Remote area of Scotland or Lake District. It's just an exercise in distant shores, a couple of yachts here. It's just a pot boiler. Now I'm going to wet the paper first, all over. I'm not one for labouring over highly complicated washes and things. I prefer to work immediate, get it done in minutes rather than hours. But that's just me. That's just how I do things. If I'm on a painting for more than an hour, I start to get bored. I like to finish. Say what I want to say, but I don't always know what I want to say because I'm making this up. Now I've gone back to my little palette here with the dried paints. I've just added a bit of raw sienna, so I don't really want to scrub at that to get any paint on the brush. But I like using paint straight from the tube, but it's not as economical as painting like this. So I'll get some nice sienna. You know my palette by now. So we'll just put in a bit of warm in the sky and on the sea area down here. Whoops. The watercolour always dries a lot lighter than when you put it on, so where it seems dark it will soak into the paper. I give you a nice warm background to your clouds or your sky, so a bit of ultra. And you tend to paint around the clouds. Some nice strong colour. And as you come to the horizon, then the blue gets lighter. And then I'll put in some cloud. I'll add a bit of light red to that. Okay, that'll do. We'll just, now you'll see the paper expands because the paper's wet, so we just gently pull it tight again, keep it nice and flat. Okay, that's nice and flat now. So I'm going to now put in, well, I'm going to dry that a little bit along that horizon, so take your headphones off if you're listening. Just a little bit. I'm going to put this background in the sky colours. Now, I need to block that bit of tissue. I'm not painting a lake or a scene, so I didn't dry that enough. Right, okay, let's just get that back in there. We can put in a bit of the raw sienna, just. And I can also put in some, I'll just block that a bit, put in some trees on that distant shore, just not any detail, just touch in some very dark, there's a bit of burnt sienna and a bit of ultramarine, but quite thick. Just dub it in. Just putting this detail on the shore, well, not really detail, it'll go in a little bit, it'll spread, but because I'm using thick paint, or thickish paint, it will not show any great detail, but there's a little bit too much water on there. No, I'm just really softening that burnt sienna. Burnt sienna blue gives a lovely rich dark, and I can superimpose some yachts or counterchain some yachts, a bit of detail on that horizon. Okay, I can clean up that, I'll make a straighter edge there, clean that edge, but not really too clean, but I don't want it looking like it's a reflection, because this is the sea there. Okay, with that. Right, okay. Reclip the paper and just put in those cottages here. I'll use a small, but I'll use my 1/2 inch flats for that. So I'll put in the roof. The roof is going to be sort of a Payne's grey and a bit of ultramarine. Just a little bit there, coming down here. Let's get that. Sorry if I'm masking. And then I'll put this one here. Right. I've got coffees on it. Right, I'm because I'm close to these buildings here with these trees, I'm going to use this nylon brush, nylon and a bit of sable, not a lot of sable I wouldn't have thought, but a nice brush nonetheless. If you find that your brushes, or the shiny bit, you know, the varnish bit here, starts to lose its paint, it starts to flake off, as they do, paint it with some acrylic varnish. I've got loads of it, household varnish. I use it for mixing with the acrylics to make them flow. But a couple of coats on top, it seals them again, and it keeps the brushes all nice. There's nothing worse when a brush starts to go like that. As you can see, that focus is on. I've sealed it now, but it was a bit late and most of it peeled off, but it's quite solid. It shouldn't peel anymore, and it's still waterproof. So a little tip. Right, I'm going to put in some tree colour. I'm going to use lemon yellow. Lemon yellow. Soften it. A bit of Payne's grey. And a bit of burnt umber. I'm just put in some trees going around there. I'll just leave a little bit of a margin between that and the roof. Leave some air holes in this. leave room for the birds to go through, some holes for the birds. Okay, now I can do slightly bluer on the other side. Right, okay. So that'll do it for that. I don't know if we're going downhill a bit there. I'll just straighten that up a little bit. That horizon, it's flipping down a bit. So a bit of tissue again. A damp brush. Whoops, my hake's fallen in the water. Right, okay, and I'll just just take that up a bit out there. Not quite. Right, that'll do. Right, I'll carry on with my house. And I'll put a little tiny bit of alizarin with a bit of ochre, raw sienna. I don't use ochre in watercolour. Just a little bit of a tint, and I'll have the shadow side here. Right, I'll bit of light red, bit of alizarin, bit of ultramarine, and just a bit of shadow on the side of the chimney pots. Right, okay, now we're going in with the main stuff here now. I'll put some sea in first. Just a little bit of sienna and ultramarine, but not dark. I just leave a little bit of a margin between the paint and the leave some waves. And we can a little bit bluer, I think. Right, okay. Let that go for a minute, see what that turns out like. Now I'm going to put in my rocks, but I want to get some grassy bits in there, so a bit of Payne's grey, a bit of sienna, and just to show a bit of grass. Coming down there. Now I'm going to put in my nice dark colours now for the rocks. So I'm mixing blue, bit of red, put a lot of colour in there. Burnt umber, bit of Payne's grey, and then I can come down here with the rocks, bit of sienna again in there. So the joy of using paint straight out of the tube is, look, you've got a nice impasto there, and that is going to come in very handy, I think, in providing some colour in the rocks when I scrape. You've got to work when it's wet on this. Right, okay, with my card. Right, got me a bit of card here. Right, so let's start putting these in. Could almost be a Cornish beach scene, like North Cornwall. And you do get a lot of rocks placed on the shores as a bulwark against the strong tides of storms, to preserve the integrity of the cliffs. I would say this is just a bit of rock. When that's dry, then I'm going to put a bit of beach. I want it all to dry first. We can probably put in a bit more in here. Right, okay, just. Right, okay, I'm going to dry that now. Right, now we need a bit of detail in the in these cottages, so we'll put some windows. I've focused a bit of sienna in that roof there. I mean that chimney stack. Right. Not a lot. I can put in a little window to the side here. Make sure it doesn't clash with the inside chimney stack. You wouldn't have a window in the stack itself. Right, that'll do for that. I think just a bit of detail. Through here. That'll do. Now, I forgot to put a little bit of land in there, so we'll put a bit of green. But yeah, a bit of green there. And we'll add some right. With this brush, I'm not going to use the hake. It's a bit fiddly in here, so I'm going to use a bit of burnt umber, a bit of Payne's grey, a bit of yellow, raw sienna. Oh, it's too strong. Just the sand. Not so sure about that. I'll let the waves or the ripples. I'll add some show the shadows behind the waves. Right, and put a bit of texture in the on the rocks. A bit of darkish colour, yellow, blue, bit of red, mix the colours. Just adding a little bit of this nice texture here. And maybe a drop my rubber. I'm just looking for a brush that will do a couple of figures about. So we can have a figure stand sitting there. If you put them in red as usual. I would have oops. Right, I figure. We can have another figure in. Right, sign it and put it in the mount and have a look, see what. Oh, I've got to put the rigottes in there. Well, sign it anyway. Put the little birds in. Right, now a bit of tissue. And we just lift out. Another one. Okay. That's as simple as it gets. I think let's put a mount on it and have a look, see if it's any good. Well, not too bad. I reckon I could probably just straighten up there just a little bit. Still seems a bit wet there. no, I can't improve that. Okay, so we've got a simple building, simple trees, rocks, demo of how to do the rocks. Sometimes they work better than others, but what you're effectively doing is scraping the colour out of the wet paper and moving it, so forming the light surface and the dark surface as well. That's all wet. So I'll zoom you in. Bring the camera around a bit. Okay. So there's our simply stated water, with leaving the unpainted bits to represent the little waves, and then our little figures there on the rocks. We've got distance, a bit of detail on that foreshore, and the nice rocks. Okay, let's zoom out and let you have a look at it again. Right, there we are. We'll call that on a rocky shore. On a rocky shore, yeah, that sounds about right. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.